Greetings! This is I, Tantus Naravan Dracovin, your Lord and Emperor here at the Dracovin Empire, and welcome! We're going to be talking about more Pathfinder lore. We're diving back into Golarion and talking about more ancestry. So if you're joining me over on Twitch, hey Twitch, you're over there on the side, chatting with me, hey, you're here. Follow would be always good. If you're joining me, of course, over on YouTube after a day or two when this is uploaded over there. Hi, YouTube. Liking, following, subscribing, ringing the bell, all that kind of stuff is great for support on that side if you're just joining me over there. So, what are we talking about today? Well, we're talking about an interesting one because we're talking about a ancestry that doesn't show up in 2nd edition as of yet. So, yeah. That's an interesting thing. We are going on and talking about the Shabti. The Shabti. Now, we have stats and rules for playing Shabti in 1st edition Pathfinder. Not 2nd edition yet. Doesn't mean they won't be introduced, but we don't know that either, too. So I'm going to be going over their place in it and, information about where you can find it, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to be going into the actual rules for play. That's not what we're here for today. We're going into the lore of them. We're loring it up a notch. So, come with me, journey as we learn in the Shabti. And we'll start with, what kind of places can I look into to get some research on my own? Because I like listening to you a lot, but maybe I want to read about some of these things and also get those stats for playing one. That's a probably pretty good place to go to. And I can say, I have the answer for you. And the first place to start is where they were introduced, and of course that is the Pyramid of the Sky Pharaoh from the Mummy's Mask Adventure Path. That's where we had the introduction to Shabti. Of course, they were continually talked about in the Bestiary 5, which kind of developed a little bit more, and eventually they are mentioned more as a monster in the Bestiary 3 for 2nd edition. So we do have stats for them in both 1st and 2nd edition, but it was along with the Bestiary 5 introduction in 1st edition that we got the stats for playing them. So, yeah, that's where we've been introduced to the Shabti. And yes, I would recommend Archives of Nethys or the PSFRD, or the D20 PSFRD.com for their 1st edition stuff if you want to look into actually playing one. Let's talk about who the Shabti are, because that's a really good question, too. So they are native outsiders to Golarion. That means they are the outsider type, unlike most creatures which are the humanoid type. Not all of them, but many within Golarion are the humanoid type. They do resemble humanoids, and they are immortal. They're in fact brought to life using what is called a sovereign Shabti. These are these items that are designed to bear the scourge of Pharasma's judgment upon powerful individuals. It's a fancy way of saying that they've found a way to transition into something else in their deaths. So they're very idealized humanoids, around 6 feet tall, generic humanoids. They're sort of in between mortals and immortals and, outsiders. They're kind of interesting creatures in that way. So the average Shabti resembles a human. The majority of them are technically kind of created from humans, so that's kind of what they look like. And they're flawless humans, and they're both physical features and physique. Also, they have that really nice-looking golden skin. Doesn't that stand out? Yeah, it does. It's accented with various embellishments, but the skin itself, if touched, does not feel metallic. Or again, around 6 feet tall, 150 to 200 pounds. And they are anatomically very similar to humans. Except for one thing, they are infertile. So keep that in mind, because they are created beings, they cannot have more of themselves, in a way. Just basically think about it that way. So how do we get a Shabti? Well, when a soul is bound to a sovereign Shabti, is judged, basically by Pharasma, to go to where it goes, the Shabti duplicate is created. If the original is condemned, the Shabti takes its place among the shades, while the soul instead travels to a plane matching its alignments. Otherwise, a Shabti appears on the fringe of access. It comes into being fully grown, with glimpses of its previous life, but knowing nothing of the magic that spawned them or the burden they have to bear. And that's a fancy way of saying some stuff about them, and in the Bestiary 5 and Pharaoh of the Sky, Bestiary of the Sky, the Bestiary part of the Pharaoh of the Pyramid of the Sky Pharaoh talks a little bit about that more. But keep in mind, they are things that are created in this way. They are different. They are built upon these souls. So yes. And the sovereign Shabti were employed by some royals of ancient Osirian, basically, whose creation were held by cults and dynasties during that time. It has been discovered across Golarion, though, and other planets, this idea of them, so that's not the only group, but on Golarion directly, the ancient Osirians were the ones that kind of went about developing it a lot more. Let's come move on here and see this other Shabti. We'll do the closer one here. There we go. Pops up nicely. Alright. So if you're looking for a Shabti, where can they be found? Mostly on Access. They can also be found on Diths, Heaven Shore, Medina Mudai, to a lesser degree. Medina Mudai being the city of brass in the Plane of Fire. And even in these places, they are rare. And seldom will they be found in greater groups than 3. So they are indeed just a very rare thing. Within the material plane in the universe, they are practically unknown and usually mistaken for Naris or Inferians. So a newly formed Shabti is unaware they are copies of another individual. They believe that they are dead royalty and take the rich appearance as a sign of spiritual value and divine favor. In face of their torment or labor, they prove initially indignant and distraught. When they discover their true nature, they deny it and live as their memories were real, while others fall into depression and insanity. The others embrace a newfound freedom. Some choose to distance themselves from the sovereign Shabti and take family names, such as popular examples of Crown or Answer. Many learn their true nature from psychopomps, who seek them out. Upon finding a Shabti, a psychopomp immediately releases them from their punishments and uses their memories to bring their creator to justice, as Pharasma despises attempts to avoid judgment. So basically, a Shabti is created as a clone of someone to avoid judgment. They are an intelligent and basically immortal outsider being that is to avoid punishment from, the god of the dead. So, yeah. And again, there's situations there that could lead to characters of it. But again, it's a rare thing, and as I said, there are stats for it within first edition. I don't know if we'll get a second edition version of them, but we might. And that's kind of where we leave off of the Shabti today. It was a simple and quiet one, and I did want to talk about them because they are interesting. And it is an interesting fact that I don't know if we will see them in second edition. They are kind of on the outskirts enough that we could just only see them in first edition and not see another version of them. But again, it does pertain a lot to the interesting nature of Pathfinder and the Pathfinder worlds. It is a type of thing that is easy to play. That's the kind of thing. So it's not outside the realm of possibility we might see it introduced in second edition at some point in time. But for now, we're relegated to first edition. And in that place, it's a rare thing. I mean, very rare. Not to say a player couldn't play one, but most likely you'd be at that crossroads where you would have learned your nature and either gone on a new path, or maybe a psychopath had, come to you and been like, hey, you're let off and stuff like that. And maybe that's why your character's in the universe, the material world. Because they decided to check out the place where their memories come from and make maybe a new life there. Yeah, you're going to be a different being. You're going to be something else. But it might be an interesting experience and lead for interesting character development. And I think that's some of the interesting natures of these beings. They are these immortals. Doesn't mean they can't find love. It can't mean they can't find things beyond their essence of old memories that they are created from. It doesn't mean a lot for them. They are not clean slates, but they are beings that are, in fact, forced and tarnished into existence and can maybe find some happiness or elegance without them. Maybe they came from another planet originally. They're a version of a human that was on another planet, and they decide to go to Golarion because it's a new world, a new start. Interesting ideas there. But again, I would love to see them pop up in 2nd edition, but for now, if you want to play one, 1st edition. And hey, I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about them. They're an interesting one, and it's another one that I feel like would be great to revisit in a future video if they ever give us more. But until then, I thank you all for joining me for this one. Hey, if you're joining me live on Twitch, hi Twitch again, hi YouTube again. I have social media, Discord, Twitter. Just giving my normal shout-outs. If you ever want to see tabletop stuff, that's Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, live, Tuesdays, Thursdays, mid-afternoon, early to mid-afternoon. Saturdays, usually as close to 11 as I can get started. And then I do Crimson Queen Wednesdays, 9 p.m. All these are Eastern Standard Time. That's a live play Pathfinder 1st edition. Check it out. It's really fun, really great. And then Saturdays at 6 is discussing tabletop. We discuss tabletop news of the week and more. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining, and until the next time I talk about more Pathfinder lore more, I bid you all a farewell.